Hi, Caleb with Brownells here, and in today's build video, we're going to be building a BRN-22. So if you're not familiar with the BRN-22, it is a Brownells version of the Ruger 1022, which is arguably the best and probably most popular 22 rifle of all time. So with that being said, let's just kind of jump right into it. I'll go over what parts we're going to be using here and show you how to assemble everything. Alright, so this receiver is kind of a newer one to Brownells. It is, everything about it is the same as our old receiver, except it's in a clear anodized. So if you're a fan of like the more classic stainless type look, then this is the one for you. This version, as of the time of this video, only comes without a rail, but it is drilled for a weaver rail, which we are, or a Picatinny rail, whatever you're going to put on there, which we will install. Alright, so that's our receiver. Other major components we're going to be using. We're going to be using a Volquartsen TG2000 trigger group, which is, honestly, if you haven't used one of these, I'll just tell you right now, it's probably the best feeling trigger for a 1022 ever made. And because of that, since we're using a Volquartsen trigger, why not use a Volquartsen barrel? So let me actually move my coffee so I don't just spill it everywhere. And we'll unbox this thing, because I haven't opened this box yet. Alright, so we'll just throw that over there. And I'll just cut it on open. And the barrel here is a carbon fiber wrapped barrel, so it's super lightweight. There's some instructions and whatnot in there for your reading pleasure. You can read those in the bathroom, family room, you know, wherever you read stuff. Okay, so the barrel itself is threaded, 1/2x28, carbon fiber wrapped, stainless steel, and this one is the red version, which is like this deep crimson color interweave with a carbon fiber, which I think just looks really cool. They also have it in different colors if red's not your thing. Alright, just remember, whenever you're choosing colored parts for your firearm, red anodizing is almost never okay on an AR-15. But for other stuff, it's okay. Alright, I'm just kidding, put whatever color parts you want on your gun. Okay, that's the barrel. Let's talk about the stock we're using. We are going to be using this stock here from Victor Company. It's just a really good synthetic stock. We've done a video on it in the past, just kind of talking about it and some of the features of it. And it's just a synthetic stock with aluminum contact points for your receiver. Alright. And our bolts, we are going to be using a Brownells bolt, because honestly we make really good bolts, so why not? We have our charging handle here. We have our takedown pin and our cross pins. And also, Brownells receivers come with the barrel block and screws, so you don't need to worry about purchasing those separately. These come with it, but you do need to purchase a takedown screw and pins, okay? So keep that in mind. Alright, so the first thing we do here, so you can do some of this stuff in pretty much any order, it's not super critical, but we're just going to go ahead and put the barrel onto the receiver. Alright, so what I'm going to do first is just kind of do a quick test fit here. Some of these are really tight. This one is nice and snug, which is perfect. That's what we like to see. Alright, so what I'm going to do is take a little bit of grease. I'm going to use Brownells Action Lube Plus. And just a dab of that. I'm going to put that on the barrel shank and just kind of spread it around. A little bit goes a long way. You don't need to coat this thing, because you don't want your extractor cut full of grease and stuff like that, because if you've shot rimfire before, you know it burns pretty dirty. Alright, I'll grab a rag. Alright, I'll put my knife up before I stab myself doing something. Okay, so on the bottom of the barrel, there's a flat that's cut. That flat is going to face the bottom of the receiver. And then you push your barrel all the way in. Like I said, this one's nice and snug. Shoulder to shoulder. Okay, there should be no gap there. And then that flat should be facing the bottom. Alright. Now I'm going to take my V block, and this is going to set on that flat, and let me turn it so you can see here, and that V is going to push against the receiver just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to take one of my screws, doesn't matter which one, and I'm going to start threading it in. I'll get it turned in a few turns there. Do the same thing with my other screw. Alright, now I'm going to need some Allen wrenches here. And for this, you really want to use the ball end. It's not necessary that you do that, but it makes everything a lot easier. So we're just going to screw it on in. And we're not going to torque anything down, we're just going to screw it in until it stops, and do the same thing with the other screw. Alright. Now the great thing about this is because it's a V block, the V cut on the barrel is aligning with the block, which is aligning with the receiver. So as you snug everything up, as long as you kind of go back and forth, it'll self-align everything. And then we can torque it down. So I'm going to take my Fix-It Sticks driver here, and I think it was a, let's see, that's a 5/32. Yeah, there we go. Alright, and I'm just going to torque these screws down one at a time. And I'm going to go to, let me get this so you can actually see what I'm doing here. Alright, I'm going to go to 25 inch-pounds on each screw. Just like that. And now the barrel's installed. That's all there is to it. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Okay, so now we are going to go ahead and install our charging handle and our bolt. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is take this charging handle. We're going to insert it into the ejection port. And if you look at the tail of the charging handle going into the receiver, there's a spot for it. It's going to push into that notch right there. And then you just push the rest of the charging handle in. It's going to just kind of sit in there. Nothing's holding it in yet. Let me clear this out the way so you can kind of see what's going on. And I'll hold this barrel in our padded vice jaws. That way you can see what I'm doing, frees up my hands. Alright, so now you're going to take your bolt, and if you look, there's a cut going across the top of your bolt here. That's where your charging handle is going to go in. But the thing about it is that the bolt can only go in from the back. So we're going to have to pull our charging handle all the way to the rear, push our bolt in, and then let everything go forward. Okay? So what I kind of like to do here is just push that charging handle back, drop our bolt in. You'll feel everything kind of click into place when you get it. Just like that, and then we go forward. Alright, now our bolts and charging handle are installed. So if you did this before you put the barrel on, because you can, we actually did a build previously where we did just that. The only thing you need to make sure of is that you come in straight in with your barrel, because if you put your bolt in, then install your barrel, your extractor cut in your barrel can twist and break the extractor in your bolts, if you do it that way. If you do it this way, then just completely disregard everything I just said, because you don't have to worry about it. Okay, now what's going to be holding the bolt in is the bolt buffer. That's this piece right here. It's just a rubber buffer that the bolt bottoms out against whenever the firearm is cycling. Okay, now the factory one that comes from Ruger is made out of steel. I think there might be some made out of aluminum. Not 100% sure, because honestly I don't really use those. This one is made out of polymer, actually a type of rubber. They have polymer ones, they have different stuff. So the only purpose that this one serves, other than the factory one, is that it's quieter when the gun's cycling, because you don't have that metal on metal contact. So these are a little bit harder to get in, I will say that. They can be a bit of a pain, because they're so flexible and you're pushing them into that tight hole in the back of the receiver. So what we're going to do is take a piece of sandpaper here. This is a 400 grit. And I am just going to bevel one side of this here. And you'll see why I did that once I actually start installing. So I'm going to bevel that all the way around. Then I'm also going to take it, and on one side, I'm just going to create a flat. And that's just to make everything easier to install. Okay. And with that, I'm also going to take a little bit of lubricant and lubricate it. And I'm just using the Wilson Combat Universal Grease, or Ultimate Universal Grease, whatever they call it, I don't know. You know how Wilson Combat can be with their naming sometimes. Not just them, but there's I feel like 2024 is going to be the age of like crazy names for products. Alright, so I'm just going to take a bench block or two, just kind of set this up here, and I'm just going to push this straight in. I'm just going to push and twist, and what we need to make sure of is that whenever we get to the hole on the other side, is that we actually are going through that hole, because if you go off a little bit, you can actually push this side all the way in, and it'll kind of bend in there. And if you do it that way, it won't allow your bolt to cycle all the way. But all we're doing is just pushing this straight in. And I'm going to take a slightly undersized punch with a hammer. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a tap. That feels pretty good. Alright. I'm just going to kind of clean up my mess a little bit here. And that's it. You see it went straight in. Nice and easy. And the bolts will bottom out against that buffer there. Okay, so what we need to do now is attach our trigger mechanism to this receiver. And to do that, I'll move our bench blocks. And this trigger group is available in a bunch of different colors. The one we have here is green. And it's not like a overly in-your-face, just ugly green. It's actually a really tasteful, like olive drab, almost gray. Check that out there. That is just it's machined out of billet aluminum. It's just a really good looking trigger group. Alright. Now all we need to do is just go straight down onto our receiver with it. And the holes in the trigger group will line up with the holes in the receiver. We're going to take our pins, push that front one in, then we'll do the same thing with the rear. I'm just going to push it straight in. And that one a little tight, so we'll use our nylon hammer and give it a little tap there. Nice and easy. Nothing to it. And this is the last piece of packaging on the table, so I will throw it on the floor with the rest of it, as I often do. Okay. Alright, we're in the home stretch now. We just need to drop it in this stock, which to do that, the trick, if you've ever put an action into a 1022 stock, this goes with any 1022, you got to put the safety selector, like that's the safe position, that's the fire position. In order to clear the sides of the stock, we got to put it in the middle position, which is kind of a balancing act, but there it is right there. And we're going to come in with the rear first, right? Just like this. Cam that rear in. And then just kind of fold everything downward. And it sits in there just like that. And then what holds these two together is this front action screw here, which will set there. And if it's not going in like mine here, you just got to adjust the alignment slightly. So we'll push this receiver back a little bit. There we go. Make sure everything's aligned, and now it's threading in. And for this, we'll also just go to 25 inch-pounds. Actually went to 30. 30 just felt good. Alright. And that is all there is to it. All we need to do from this point is just put our weaver base on, which we'll go ahead and just knock that out real quick. So let's grab that. I'm just going to throw this in the vise here. I'm going to grab it by the end of the barrel just so I can tilt it towards you so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. Alright, so first things first, we're going to remove these plug screws. They serve absolutely no purpose other than to just plug those holes. Alright. Alright, so when you get those 4 screws out, you just got to take a look at your base here. The rear screws are going to be spaced further apart than the front screws. So just use your common sense, and it's pretty straightforward. All right, and with that, we got 4 screws. And we're just going to drop those screws into the holes here. I'm just going to do one at a time. Alright, so the front one's going on, and you can do these in any order. You don't have to do it exactly how I'm doing it. Also, if you want to use any Loctite on these screws, you can use a little bit of blue Loctite, and that's perfectly fine. Just don't go crazy. Alright. And I'll go ahead and do a back screw here. Alright, and throw a torque wrench on these, or a torque driver I should say, and these no more than 15 inch-pounds is plenty. So we'll go right up to 15. Alright, and then we'll just do a quick function check. Alright, and then we'll put it Put it on safe, doesn't fire. Alright, put it on fire. It fires. Then we'll hold the trigger down and check that reset. And then slowly let go of the trigger. Alright, everything works great. And that's all there is to it. All you need to add from here is an optic, whatever you want. You can put a scope on it, you can put a red dot on it. It's really up to you. Personal preference is everything there. And then magazines, you can use the 25 round extended magazine, 10 round factory mag, whatever you want to do. And also, since the muzzle is threaded, you can attach a suppressor or muzzle device of your choice. That's all there is to it. If you have any questions or comments and you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to post them down below. And if you're watching this on the website and you need help, feel free to give us a call on the tech line. We'll be happy to help you out. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.